To soften Eileen's sentencing for the Mallory murder, the defense tries to show that a traumatic past warrants a life sentence for Wuornos instead of the death penalty.
Psychologist Dr. Elizabeth McMahon spent many hours with Wuornos. She said Wuornos and her brother were raised by an abusive grandfather.
He wished they could take them out in the backyard and shoot them, hang them from trees, that they were more trouble than they were worth.
Eileen's mental health finally came up during the penalty phase, which the defense said was caused by childhood trauma.
Ms. Wuornos is probably one of the most primitive people I've seen outside of an institution.
But that backfired in a big way.
Barry Wuornos.
Her own brother testified at the trial about the family life.
So what we saw in the courtroom was Barry Wuornos sit up there and basically call his sister a liar.
Well, I would say it was a normal lifestyle. We were pretty straight and narrow family.
He said there was no child abuse. He did not support her stories of everything that had gone on in the household.
Very little trouble in the family.
But he testified for the prosecution. You don't often hear that. To hear somebody sit up there and say that about a family member, that was one of the most chilling moments in my crime reporting years.
Why Barry did this doesn't make sense to me, but it doesn't fit in the pattern and the information we had about our childhood. It may be the fact that Barry may have known more than he claimed. He was just ashamed of his family history. So now the jury has new witness testimony. Now they have to take this information and decide whether Eileen Wuornos lives or dies.
By warrant of the governor of the state of Florida, you, Eileen Carol Wuornos, be electrocuted until you are dead. And may God have mercy upon your court.
The jury that convicted Wuornos on Monday, Thursday recommended that she be sent to the electric chair instead of life in prison.
You mean to say innocent, and I was raped, and I was tortured?
I wasn't surprised she was sentenced to death, but it's still a sobering moment. It was probably the right thing, although as far as I'm concerned, life without parole would have been appropriate.
Why did this jury find you guilty? I think it's a media cover.
You know, it wasn't easy to sentence a person to death. There was a lot of tears, but there was nothing in question. She had a tough life, but not an excuse for murder.
When you look back at Ms. Wuornos' case, we see error after error after error at every stage of these proceedings. And I don't think we ought to go forward with executions where the process wasn't fair and we can't be confident that the outcome was reliable.
How Eileen Wuornos arguably did not get a fair trial is absurd. And I'm now a defense attorney, and I know what critical errors are. They did not occur in that case.
The jury chose to sentence someone to death who should have not been sentenced to death. You had media influence infecting the trial. The edited confession tape deals with Hollywood producers, Tyra's questionable testimony, the prosecution being allowed to bring in the other murders, and a defense team who was way in over their head.
Do you think she deserves the death penalty? I certainly do.
This is not what the trial should have been about. This was a perversion of justice.